This is a Think Live Be production. Good morning.
That was very excited sounding.
Yeah, well, this is the podcast.
Welcome to our podcast.
This is
that's my podcast.
Regardless of how I feel on the inside.
You're gonna express outward,
of course,
excitement, even if internally,
always. Yes,
you're like, it's freezing in here.
That's part of being on a show. If I wanted to be miserable, and nobody know about it, I just sit here in the house by myself.
Well, yeah, you could do that, but we're committed. We're here. It's cold in here, and we're gonna do the podcast anyways.
Yep.
Well, so I started out with It's a good way to start a podcast that people are listening to. So I recently went to Business Planning Clinic, which is a class. In case if you're listening to this for the first time, you don't know this about me, but I like classes. I love learning. If I wasn't going to be a realtor as a career choice, I was going to be a full-time student and just continue through college.
Sweet, that would have made this
been
lifestyle
a different
awesome.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, tottle.
So I love learning, and so I go to as often as I can, whatever I can go to that I know I'm going to get value from. I don't just attend anything. There are those people that do that where you just spend your days going to classes the Regional Realtor Association is putting on another class. Let me go attend that.
Yeah.
And call yourself busy. That's not me. If there's something that is going to take me to the next level or help me get through the level that I'm at and figure out next steps, I want to be there.
Yeah. Because
you got to learn from people who've already done it, so that you can get the places faster. So I attended Business Planning Clinic again. I go pretty much every year. I'm sure I've missed one, but I've gone pretty much every year for probably the last, 6 to 10 years, let's call it. And it helps you outline your business plan for the new year. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about things that I learned, things that I maybe already knew but were refreshers, and just some thoughts on business plans. It's your favorite.
I know.
It's my favorite.
Kathryn warned me last night when we were discussing what we were going to talk about today, that she wouldn't get too far in the weeds. So let's see. You guys tally it up.
How many times
I have to pull her back?
Where I'm talking too far into the numbers. I'll stay.
Be like an Inception version of the rabbit hole.
Well, so welcome though this morning. This is our podcast, Seeking the Best, and we talk about ways to be the best that we can in this crazy real estate business. And I'm Kathryn Stelgis, one of your co-hosts. Your other co-host, his name is Patrick Fatika. He's not a realtor.
Nope.
He is my significant other.
Yep.
And my partner in crime.
Yep.
And he also has been with me since the day I got my real estate license.
Even before that.
Well, yeah, even before that. But I just mean in the context of real estate. So while I've been selling homes for 17 years.
I've been listening about it.
You've been hearing about it.
Hey, how did the dog get in here?
Uh-oh, we've got a puppy on the loose. We may have to pause and get back to you. No, we're going to keep going. Okay.
Yeah, you keep going. I'll grab him. Come here.
So anyways, Patrick has heard me complain about things, be excited about things. We figure stuff out together. He is definitely my partner in this business. So I do the planning though. I actually do this in our real life too. I like to plan. It's one of my strengths. So I sit down pretty regularly and write out plans. And we use, I'm with Keller Williams Realty. And so we have tools and resources that we use. So when I talk about Business Planning Clinic, this is a Keller Williams class specifically, but anyone can use these tools and models to build a real estate plan. And they're all based around studies that have been done on successful agents over the years who were making $1 million or more. So it's based on the millionaire real estate agent models. And everybody, if you just if you just sat down and made a business plan, I promise you will get further along next year than if you didn't sit down and write something down. There's studies that prove this.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't
remember. Having a goal?
Having a goal, but having it written down.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. It's like a Harvard business study, but I can't remember the percentages. But it's staggering, like the difference between when they studied people over the years of people who had goals versus people who didn't have goals. But then the big difference jumped when people had written down goals. Mm-hmm. They were, and I'm making up this percentage. You can Google the Harvard business study, but it was something like 90 or 89% or something like very high,
right,
of the people who had written down goals achieved them. And I kind of like personally prove this often. So
I was going to say there's like a cause and causation. There could be a thing, but what kind of person are you going to be, right? Like, oh, well, the person who wrote down the goals is a certain type of person who is going to plan and do that. Therefore, they're going to do better in their business because of where their head is at when it comes to the business. But what kind of person are you going to be? Well, it starts with writing down the goals, and then you turn into that person if you're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a question that just reminded me. There's a question that people say a lot in classes that I attend, which is like, who do you need to be to achieve that?
Right.
Who do you need to be? Because that's what you're actually working towards. Mm-hmm. Is you're changing.
You're not that person yet, but you can be. You just have to work at it.
Yeah.
It's like the people who don't want to, that doesn't sound like me on the scripts, or they don't want to make the calls or whatever it is. It's like you can become that person. Mm-hmm. You just have to start on today with it. And you'll look back 2 years from now and go, oh man, what a different person I was then. Look at how far I've come. Yeah. But you have to start.
Well, and that reminds me, I feel like a lot of times people hear that and what they hear is like, well, I don't want to change who I am.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't want to change who I am to make money. But that's not what that is. And it actually did take me a while, I think, to understand that.
Right, because they think, well, then I become this slimy salesperson, and I don't want to be that. Yeah, because I'm not that. Right, that's like this. It's either this or that. There's no in between, and it's not even what that's about.
Yeah. So what it is it's about like who would you, so let me just give you an example. Like who would you need to be to achieve whatever your goals are for 2024? And so that might be like, well, I would need to be somebody who wakes up earlier. So, and I'm just making stuff up right now.
Yeah, because we can't wake up any earlier.
No, we're up at
I'm done.
It's like 5:45 is like sleeping in.
Every
lately.
6 months, it's 15 minutes earlier. 15 minutes earlier. She's been working this on me for like 2 years.
Well, so but these are the things, like who would I need to become to achieve my goals? And you have to really think through that. And it's not, oh, I'm going to not be the person that I am. It's the habits that you might have to change. That's really, I think, the best way to explain it. So I may need to be somebody who wakes up earlier so that I can work out in the morning, so that I can feel refreshed, so that I can be on time and then be productive in the first 3 hours of the day. That's who I need to become to achieve my goals. And so what do I need? What actions do I need to take to become that person? And that's sort of on a bigger scale. That's not like the minutia of business planning, but it's that question that you kind of need to ask yourself once you figured out what your business goals are. And we kind of started this we're going in the wrong order, right? Like first you need to know what goals you want to have for yourself. And then you need to say, like, who do I need to be? But that's okay. We started out this way. So when you're working on your business plan, it's more than numbers. It really is. And the way I've always been taught, and this isn't from the business planning clinic, but the ways I've been taught from MAPS coaching is that first you start with an allocations form, and this is where I will not get in the weeds.
You already are, but go on.
Because I said allocations form. Okay. All an allocations form is like a personal budget and a business budget. Like how much money do I actually need to survive? So you first start with like your personal financials. How much is your mortgage or your rent? How much do you spend for groceries? How much is your car insurance? Like all the things, the personal things that you spend money on, you write down the cost of that annually. And then you divide that by your average commission. And that's the bare minimum number of homes you need to sell. And this is where I think it's important. If I think back to like when I first got into real estate, I had another job. If this is your first time listening, I was a young kid. I was still in college, actually. I had graduated University of Central Florida, and then I went back to school, had 2 jobs. I was a bartender, and I worked a couple shifts during the day sometimes at a bar next door. And so I didn't know like what I needed to survive from real estate sales because I had another job. And so like that actually was a crutch for a really long time where I knew that we could pay our bills with the money that we made from our bartending, and you were a DJ, but from our jobs. Like I knew that that was enough to pay our bills. So in the first year, it was really about like, I just want to make a sale. I got into real estate when the market had crashed, and like, I just wanted to make a sale. And so if you're there, like you're at that same first year level and you're like, I just want to make one sale, that's fine. But you should still do this exercise to see how do you replace whatever previous job or whatever savings you're living off of so that you can pay your bills. Know how many actual real estate sales that is. And it does also factor in taxes because you should pay your taxes. So that's kind of the first step in business planning, and it's completely unrelated to your business, except that a business should pay for your bills, right? You shouldn't work all year long and not have been able to pay for your bills.
Yeah, if you're in real estate, you're a realtor, but it's mad money, vacation money, you can still do this. How much do you need for your vacation? How much do you need? You see what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter where you're at.
Well, this is how you plan. This is how you make a goal.
This is how you set this is going to be how you set your goal for the year. So it doesn't matter what your goal is. If it's to, like Kathryn said, to survive and pay your mortgage, or if it's to go to Europe for a month because your significant other has a good paying job too. And so whatever you're doing is going to be bonus. Or to put the addition on the house, or whatever it is.
Well, but you
can kind of do any of this with this.
That still comes into play on the allocations form too. But assuming that you're trying to make a living,
right?
First, figure out how would I actually do that with real estate sales? How many units is that based on my average commission? And then you work through your business expenses. Same thing. If you pay a salary, if you pay for certain lead gen costs, that even if you don't pay for leads,
your dues, e-key, signs, all of this, everything
that you would spend. If you're going to take a listing, you're going to pay for photographs. You're going to pay for a sign to be installed and then destalled. That's not the right word.
I just meant like open house signs, or buying your listing signs,
everything,
postcards,
everything you can think of.
Right.
Closing gifts, everything you can think of, you're going to write that out. And then you're going to do the same thing. You write out your entire annual expenses for that. And if you've been in real estate the previous year, this is a little bit easier to do because you probably have some general idea how much you spent last year. And if you don't, well, this is a good place to go start.
Right.
Like figure out how much you did spend. And then you're going to divide that by the average commission as well. And now you know how many units. Oh, I should also say in there, you should also include any splits with like your brokerage splits or royalty fees to corporations, anything like that, include that in those costs. And then you're going to divide that by the average commission too. And that's going to give you, now you've got, here's my personal expenses to live. And then here's my business expenses to fund actually making money, right? And then that number of units is your bare minimum.
Right.
You have to sell that many houses in order to survive.
Right. So let's just stop for a second. We're going to use moving forward when we talk about the number, we'll use 20.
Let's use 24 because it's 2 per month.
I know, but easily divisible would be 25. So let's do 25.
Okay.
Then, okay. Because then it's easy to add up or divide. What was I going to say?
Sorry. I messed you up.
You messed me up. Go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll come back to you.
It'll come back to me. Yeah.
This is the fun part of a live podcast.
Early in the morning. I already told you what time she makes me get up.
So anyways, now you know your bare minimum. So like, I think what you were saying is, let's say it's 25, right? Just for
math's sake.
For math's sake. So you have to sell basically 2 per month in order to pay all of your bills and pay for your business to run. Now you know, like, at least you have a starting point. But then what kind of life is that, right? Like, I'm just paying my bills and paying for my business to run, but I have no fun money. I have no investment, no retirement. I have nothing else.
Yeah.
Right?
That's living. That what you're talking about is living. 25 sales in this scenario is paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. And we're making up numbers. Like, obviously it depends on what your average commission rate is. 25 sales could be a pretty decent living depending on what the commissions are. And
everyone has different bills and different
sure
things.
Your cost of living is different.
Yes, 25 for some people might be way more than what they need. For others, not enough. Right.
So we're just using that because it's easy math, right? So now you know your bare minimum, and you need to think. So this is one of the I would say this is like one of the best gifts that Keller Williams has given me, is the ability to think bigger than that. And forcing me through these tools and resources to think about the fact that you can own other property, you can travel, you can do the things you want to do in your life, and that you can actually build a really big life for yourself, and it doesn't have to be just paycheck to paycheck. And you can do all of this by planning, setting goals, and then knowing what it is you're working for every day. So the next part of the allocations form is, what are you going to do other than that? Right? Other than pay your mortgage and pay to run a business, what else are you going to do in the following year?
And this is the part that's actually the most difficult.
It really can be for a lot of people, because it's like, well, I don't know. I guess travel.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go on a vacation. Okay. That's, $5 or 10 grand, depending on where you want to go. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then what?
Well, yeah. And it's hard to think big, because it's like, well, I'm not going to buy a brand new car on there. That's way too much money. Blah blah blah, and all you start hindering yourself, handicapping yourself right from the get-go of not thinking big enough on things, because that's I always like to say this, that's tomorrow Patrick's problem. I'm gonna sit here today and come up with all of this stuff. We'll let Patrick of the future figure out how to do it, right? So separating yourself internally to just be able to come up with what it is that you want and not hold yourself back from it can be hard to do.
It can be hard to do, and a lot of times just the way you were raised is like, I can't
have that.
Yeah, I can't have that. That's too much money. Right. Like, yeah. I shouldn't be spending money on that. All of those things. Mm-hmm. So, but if you practice this over and over again, first of all, whatever you write down, even if it's absurd, like, let's say you want to pay cash for a boat, like some fancy boat. I don't know anything about boating, but like, say that's your thing. And you write that down. And let's say, again, I have no idea about boating, so I am making up a number here. Let's say you can get a boat for $50,000. And
that's not a fancy boat.
Okay. Well, I don't know anything about boating.
Well, you figure what's a nice car costs, and that's a boat. So it's going to be
more. Is a boat more?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's say 50. Okay. So I'm going to write that down. Like, I want to pay cash for a boat. I love boating, and I haven't been able to do it in a really long time. I want to do it. And you write that down on your allocations form. And maybe this year you don't make enough to buy the boat in all cash. You will get further ahead and closer to that goal, though, than if you didn't write it down at all.
Well,
because you'll actually be working towards something,
right? And what ends up happening is you fill out you write all this stuff down, your personal budget, your business budget, and all these things that you want to have and stuff, and what it's gonna spit out a number at the end of how many, as you work your numbers backwards, of how many calls you make during each day, and that's a small tangible goal that you can accomplish. And if you do the small tangible goal that you can accomplish every single day, then you will have those things. So it's almost like a game with yourself where you can, after you do all of this, you can kind of turn off all of the, oh, I need money for this and I need to get money for that. And I need to, because all it comes down to is the number of calls and contacts you're going to make every single day, and everything else will work its way out. So it sounds like a lot, like I've got to write all this down and then this, and I need money for that. And what's that going to cost and stuff. But this is just right now writing the stuff down. And then once we start to work through the numbers of how many, all the way down to the number of phone calls you need to make each day, it simplifies it to such a degree that all of this money stuff and all of these things can go out of your head, and all you have to focus on is the number of contacts that you need to make, because that's really what this comes down to.
It really is. And I think that's what I appreciate so much about this business, is how simple it really is. And like every day you go in and you will forget how simple it is, and you'll get bogged down in the details of transactions and talking to clients. And somebody got mad because they couldn't get into a house, and I had to run over and lock up a door because somebody couldn't figure out how to do it. And you're going to get lost in all of that nonsense. But if you can just remind yourself every morning, all I have to do is make this many contacts. And I say all of this fully knowing that I have failed to do that. You will fail to do that. But it is that simple. It really is. So back to the allocations form. So write out your big goals and dreams. What are you going to spend more money? Why are you going to show up to work every day? What's going to motivate you to do the job other than paying your bills?
Yeah, we're not specifically talking about, because I want to help people. This is about you.
Yeah.
Right now we're talking about you. We're not talking about helping people or any of those things.
You will get to help people the more contacts you make. It's a byproduct.
That's the problem, right? Is people, newer agents, younger agents, they get a client and then they get bogged down with customer service and I need to be there for them and blah, blah, blah. And you're hurting yourself because you're spending what do we say? If you give yourself 5 hours, it'll take you 5 hours, right? So if you spend all of this time with this one client because you want to give them the service and you want them to be happy and you want blah, 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 and all of those things, you're hurting yourself because you're supposed to be doing other things with that time and stuff. So it's just like, you know what I mean?
Can I share with you something
Sure.
that I just kind of thought of? It was occurring to me, you know, there's always the saying about like, you know, you're supposed to help yourself first. Like in the airplane.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
You're supposed to help yourself first. And I was just thinking about how, you know, we own some investment property. That's been things that I've written down, by the way, on the allocations form for several years. And I came up with a plan, and then I do the things I need to do to execute that plan. And it just kind of occurred to me that I feel like for the first time, and I've been doing this for 17 years, but I feel like for the first time this year, I've put together like a seminar, let's call it, because there's not a better word for it. That sounds so boring, but like a seminar for investing in real estate that I'm excited to share with our past clients who, because I feel like I can help them develop their long-term wealth.
Yeah.
And the only reason that I feel that way and that I'm taking those steps to actually provide that value to them is because I've been able to acquire, and I say I mean Patrick and I, we're one person, that we've been able to acquire investment property, and I'm learning through that process how to best do it, what to look for, etc. I was a realtor for years and I understand how to buy and sell homes and I understand the basics of investing, but like actually making it happen for us allows me to then be a better value to the clients.
Right.
So it is about like take care of yourself, and then it's amazing what you can actually help other people with by doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then that goes into a million different forms. Like if I can achieve my goals, then I actually have more leftover income to give to more charities, or I have more free time to give to other organizations. So anyways, back on track. think big about what you want for your future. So for this year, write down, like maybe it's buy your first investment property, right? So then you have to figure out how much does that cost? Like how much money will I actually need? And this one's an easy one to use. So let's say you want to buy an investment property and you want to put 20% down.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can do that math. What's 20% of 300,000? 60?
Mm-hmm.
60,000.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to write on my allocations form, and it would be more than that, right? You've got closing costs or whatever, but I would write down buy first investment property, $60,000.
Don't forget, you also get the buyer commission.
Well, yeah. But I'm just saying, let's not get in the weeds on the math here, but you're going to write that down on the page. And that might seem like, whoa, like that's how am I supposed to have $60,000 in cash available to do that? Write it down, because even the act of writing it down, it may not happen this year, but I bet it happens a year or two down the road, because now you've got something that you're actually working towards, and you will then build a plan around how do I get that money?
Right. Rather than just what am I going to do today and waking up and why am I even doing this and all of the things and not having a path. This puts you on a path. It puts you on, gives you a goal, all of those things rather than, and it's surprising how many people, and I know because Kathryn, whenever she hires a new agent and they get through their 30 days, first 30 days, or maybe, I don't know, I'm sure where in the process, but she sits down with all of her agents and has them do this. And it's always, doesn't matter if they have had their license for 4 years or brand new. I don't think there's been an agent that's come through that has already done this on their own. So
never.
Right.
Oh, and the only people that I meet that have done these exercises are people that have attended business planning clinic or, have a MAPS coach. And so, but it's a really simple exercise. So then guess what you do? You take the $60,000 and you divide it by your average commission. And then that's how many units you need to sell to achieve that goal.
Right.
And actually, I think this is where the fun part comes in is let's say you're to pay your business bills and your personal bills was 25 units because that's what you wanted me to use.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go and you do the $60,000 and the number usually is like, it's not that big.
Right.
It really isn't.
Right.
Now, collectively, you're adding all of it together. It might start to add up, right? Mm-hmm. But like the actual goal of
it's just an extra 4 sales.
Like what? Imagine if it was
right.
It depends on your average commission, but imagine if it was another 4 sales.
Maybe, and
that's 1 per quarter.
And don't forget, depending on what brokerage you work for, where do you cap on that?
Well, that is all included in the numbers because you include
right. But I'm just saying, if your cap doesn't come until after what your goal is, like,
well, you're getting in the weeds.
I know I am. But I know. I guess my point is if you're like, oh, it's an extra 4 sales is all I need, and then we work that backwards to how many contacts do you need to make to get a lead, to close a lead. It's I have to make an extra 5 calls.
Yeah.
In order to attain those goals, I just have to make 5 extra contacts than I would normally do. Well, do 3 extra open houses or 5 or whatever it is. It's more than 3, but depending on what your different sources are for contacts and stuff, it's small bite-sized pieces.
It simplifies
makes things possible, rather than these big ethereal goals that you don't know how to get to.
So yes, it just simplifies it. It makes it so that you see, wow, I can achieve wildest dreams if I just sell, and then in this example, we're saying 4 more houses. So that's 1 per quarter. Can you do 1 more sale per quarter? Sure you can.
Mm-hmm.
Sure you can.
Yeah, but would you do the 1 more sale per quarter if you didn't have all of this written out and figured out and
no,
something to shoot for?
You probably wouldn't even do
you do
the
less,
25.
Right? Now you know what you need and you know what to shoot for and you know how to shoot past it.
Yeah.
What you need to do to get past that goal.
Yeah. So do we need to take a break before I get into some numbers. No, I'm not. I will.
That'll leave them hanging.
They're coming back after the break for sure with that one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a break.
The Think Live Be team is an Orlando-based real estate team with Keller Williams Realty at the Parks. We operate as a boutique-style company with the resources of the largest real estate company behind us. Think Live Be is looking for talented people like you to join our team. If you happen to live in the Orlando area and you're a detail-oriented quick learner, then we might have a place for you. Whether you're a real estate agent or administrative professional, we are looking for individuals who are ready to work hard and ready for success. If you're ready to join the team, visit us at thinklivebe.com.
And we're back.
Okay, as promised, pull out your calculators. I'm just kidding. I mean, maybe. But so I was reading, like I said, I attended this class. And so I was reading a little note I made to myself that I thought is worth sharing. So the instructor of the class, his name is Gene Rivers. I mentioned him recently because he also was at our ALC clinic, which is our Agent Leadership Council thing that we did recently. And he's just a great presenter, and he's definitely like business planning. He comes every year to teach this because he knows it forwards, backwards, like the back of his hand. He can literally like spout out the model and path of a MREA agent without like looking at anything, without breaking for silent. Like he's just, yeah, he's great. So anyways, he was explaining that, as realtors, we're starting a small business, right? But we don't actually have any capital requirements. I mean, yes, there's dues to pay. There's some initial costs to getting into the real estate business, but we don't have like franchise fees.
Right. There's no R&D or brick and mortar
like
product that you have to
open most small businesses. You have to have inventory. I mean, you're talking about at minimum, most small businesses, $150,000 to $300,000 to start.
Yeah, and we're not talking about an Etsy store like when we're talking about small
right.
business, right?
So the SBA is a small business administration that loans to small businesses, right? Because most people, when they start a small business, they don't have the
it's a lot of capital. Yeah,
$300,000 to start.
Or an investor who's going
right.
Right.
So they have to get a loan from the SBA, and they don't just loan money to anybody, right? You have to come in with a business plan.
Right.
And
you've all seen this a million times on television.
Right. They have to come in with, and then on television, usually it's like, we're not going to give you the loan.
Yeah. Otherwise there's no story.
So the SBA does research on things, and they've determined that the number one factor in businesses failing is usually capital requirements. And then the second is not having a written business plan that's being followed. So think about starting a business though without having a business plan. It would be insane, right? Like you wouldn't get the loan for the business.
Right.
So it's crazy how many agents go out there to run a business and don't have any sort of written plan whatsoever on how they're going to actually make any money.
Right.
Which is the purpose of the business.
Yeah. How do you know? If you say I want to make X amount of dollars this year, how do you do that?
And then
you just get up and start calling and cross your fingers and hope that things work out. That's what most people do.
Yeah.
Most agents do. They cross their fingers and they hope that just works out. That's not how you run a business, right?
No,
Could you
not.
imagine any other business that you've ever heard of people doing that? Of course not, right?
Well, and so the other thing is, and I didn't know this about the SBA because I've never gotten a small business loan, but they actually do check in on you. They drop in on you. And what are they checking in on regularly? That you're following the plan.
Right.
Because they want their money back, right? So we live in a world where you can start a business with very little money. And the one thing that you need to do is write out a business plan. And it's just crazy that so many people don't. So we're going to talk about what are the points of the business plan. So I think there's lots of tools within Keller Williams. A 1-page business plan is called a 135 or a GPS. And it stands for one big goal, 3 priorities and 5 strategies for each priority. So I'm going to go, though, in the order in which you would work through this. So first, you're doing the allocation form like we talked about, because you need to know how much money you actually need.
Right. In order for anything else to work.
You can't do anything else until you know
you have to
how
have
many
the answer.
units do I need to sell.
We're getting ready to put in a little guest house and garage at our house. If we don't have a number of what it's going to cost, right? This is super simple. This is a super simple version of this. If we don't have a cost of what we want to spend, how do we make decisions on what kind of countertops or how big do we want the place to be or what kind of windows do we want to have? We have to have a number to start with, and then we base our decisions off of that number of what we're going to do, right? That's all this is the same sort of idea. You have to have the number, and in order to have the number, you have to do the allocation form. Okay, so we've figured out 25 gives us enough to live. 30 gives us what we want at the end of the day to buy the boat or whatever it happens to be, is 30 sales from our allocation form.
Okay, we're going with 30?
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually just found something. So I'm going to pause real quick and say I found the written goals percentage, and it's actually lower, but it's not this report that I was referencing. Mm-hmm. So if you look up the Harvard Business Study, I'm pretty sure the percentage is more, but still think about this, like individuals with written goals are 42.1% more likely to achieve them. Individuals with accountability, almost 78% more likely to achieve
accountability them. Meaning coach?
A coach or somebody that you're checking in with. It's like, because here's the thing, you can write all this down, but if you never look at it and you never have anyone holding you accountable for that.
Single agent working out of your living room and not really paying attention to it and being like, well, the TV's right there. I have some catching up to do. The new series on Netflix came out.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Let me tell you what the best accountability is get a partner in life who likes to spend money.
That's me.
He's like, oh, you know what we should do? Like every morning, he's like, you know what we should do? Mm-hmm. And it always involves money.
Yeah, that's true. And then I say, go make your calls. Did you make your calls today?
But truly, like, this is what happens though, is that you can grow and think bigger together. And then there's things that you get to do and investments that you can make because you're constantly planning and working on executing those plans.
Right.
So anyways, once you have, let's say it's 30, right? I want to make 30 sales. Then you have to use what's called the economic model to figure out if I'm going to sell 30 units, how many appointments? Well, first let's work backwards. If I'm going to close 30, how many do I need to pend?
Right.
If I'm going to pend this many, how many do I need to take as clients? Mm-hmm. If I'm going to take this many, how many do I need to hold appointments with in order to take this many? And then from hold is how many I need to set.
Mm-hmm. And then from set,
how many do I need to contact?
Right. So which is what I said before the break, what you have to work your way down to is how many contacts, because that's what real estate is yes. How many contacts do I need to make today? All of the minutia of, this buyer is upset or this and that, and blah, blah, blah. That all works its way past that to pen. How many can you pend to how many can you close, right? But it starts with one thing, which is how many contacts do I need to make today, right? There's fallout. Some people just won't close. There's something that's going to happen during the sale. Kathryn and I are in the middle of something for ourselves where we're dealing with property lines on a property. It might not close. It might not. And our agent that we have, because this is out of state, might not close this deal, right? So that's part of the fallout of how many can you pen to how many can you close. It's worked into the system.
Yes.
But what's the most important is the starting point, which is how many contacts do I need to make today? That's the job.
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But first, if you're going to close 30, the easiest math if you just know this, and I'm going to get into the other percentages briefly, but if you just know this, if I want to close 30 sales, I need to set 60 appointments. Just double it. And almost always that will work out. Mm-hmm. And if I need to set 60 appointments, every lead gen source is different. So just hear me out. Like if you're primarily working circle prospecting, this is not going to be the math for you.
If you're a door knocker,
so just
it's not going to be the math for you.
But if you're using just sort of average conversion for most things across the board, it would be 5%. Mm-hmm. So if you need to set 60 appointments, you need to talk to 1,200 people.
Right. Asking
for business. And that should lead to 60 appointments, 30 closings.
Right.
If you can keep with you need the scripts and dialogues to be able to hold the conversion rates through that system.
Right.
So what I mean by that is
we talk about it as a recipe, right? So you have to follow the recipe to a T. You can't just say, oh, well, I don't have any baking soda, so I'm going to leave that out of this recipe this time.
Yeah.
You're going to the recipe is not going to work.
Yeah.
So you have to follow the system properly.
10-part questions, 1 part charm. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm going to just also break down.
Okay. So you said how many? 1,200?
Yes, if you were at a 5% conversion rate.
And 5% is what, the national average?
That's the average. So it's typically 1 in 20 people that you talk to, you could set an appointment or get a referral.
Right.
1 in 20.
That's anybody that is on your in your database. Those are Mets. Oh, well, I don't want to get in the weeds.
That's why I said just know that there are different lead sources, and like circle prospecting, as I mentioned, is 1 in 100, not 1 in 20. It's 1 in 100.
And I would assume door knocking is probably the same.
Kind of, because it's cold. It's like door knocking is probably a little bit better because you're face to face versus on the phone.
If you're circle prospecting, you might as well. That is basically throwing a dart at the phone book and just picking up. You might as well just pick up the phone book and start in the A's and just start dialing.
But the point is, like, obviously, the colder the lead, the more people you're going to have to talk to find someone. Mm-hmm. So think about it like that. If you talk to 20 Sphere repeatedly over time, you're calling them quarterly, you're emailing them, blah, blah, blah. You should actually have a larger percentage of those people because they already know you, like you, trust you. So that's why we're using this 5%.
Right.
It's somewhere in the middle of like a really cold lead source and people who know you, like you, etc. But even if you used 2.5%, so this is what I used to do, and I probably haven't done it in a couple recent years, and maybe I should, but I used to just like, okay, well, if that's the average, I'm just going to use a lower one.
I'm going to shoot low just in case.
Right. So if you do that, then you're going to either exceed your goal, right, which is awesome, mm-hmm. or you're going to at least hit it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you don't want to use 5% because that seems too good of a conversion,
because it's the average and you're newer, so yeah.
Then use 2.5, which means you have to talk to 2,400 people.
Okay, so let's just do that, 2,400.
Okay, so you're going to talk to 2,400 people. Now, before we get into like who are those people, mm-hmm. First, I do just want to break down the economic model briefly without getting in the weeds.
Okay.
Because we gave you the very simple version. You want to sell 30 houses? Set 60 appointments, talk to 2,400 people. And you could even say set 75 appointments. You want to, again, like, make yourself succeed. Like, set your percentages lower than what the book says.
Right.
So anyways, here's where the economic model comes into play is you're not necessarily going to set all buyer or all seller. Right?
Yeah.
Like you're going to have
a mix.
Most people have like a 50-50 business, and there's nothing wrong with that because mm-hmm. that means that you're bringing on new like sellers for the future because you have buyers coming in.
Yeah. And the longer you do it, the more sellers you get because those people that you sold houses to eventually want to sell.
So if you did a 50-50 business, that would be 15 seller sales, 15 buyer sales mm-hmm. in this example. Well, in each side of the the economic model, the percentages are slightly different. So I'm going to tell you the buy side.
Okay.
Based on the book here.
Okay.
So according to the MREA model, if you were doing 50% buyers sold and you wanted to sell 15 buyers, the conversion rate, what they don't have in here is the fallout, but I kind of find it to be about like 10%. Like it's not really.
You mean people that don't? What do you mean by fallout?
Like that they don't close.
Okay.
Like I put somebody pending and then they don't actually.
How many you pen versus how many you actually close?
And I'm going to give you a number to use.
Small percent.
It really shouldn't be 10%.
If it's that 10%, then you're not doing there's other issues. It's not it's a good way to pinpoint where you're having problems, and you're having problems somewhere in the process before you get to the pending. Because if you're having people drop out, they're not qualified, they're not being qualified properly, or there's part of the LP mama that you're not getting, you're not understanding and stuff, but you can pinpoint where that is and fix it.
Yeah, I'm realizing that the book that I have is a little bit different than what I've always learned with conversion rates. There's like a couple things missing in here.
Okay. That's okay.
I'm just going to go with what's in the book. So if we were wanting to sell 15, then let's...
Oh my God, Kathryn, you're getting yourself in the weeds.
Well, because it's not the same as I'm used to. Okay, so let's just say...
Just do what you do.
Well, I don't have that written down in front of me. So if you wanted to sell 15, you have to calculate for fallout. Mm-hmm. So let's use 10%. Mm-hmm. And it really shouldn't be 10%, but if you think about 10% of 15, it's really like 1 to 2. Mm-hmm. So you might have one buyer that ends up not moving forward, right? Like that's realistic.
Yeah, I think so.
So you're going to take 15 and divide it by 0.9, 90%, mm-hmm. right? Divided by 0.9. That's how you get how many do you need to pend.
Right.
So 15 divided by 0.9 gives you how many you need to pend. So it's 16.67. Let's call it 17. So I need to have 17 pending buyers to mm-hmm. close 15. Mm-hmm. And then let's say the conversion of the next step. So in order to pend people... I'm only going to do the buy side because I'm just...
Yeah, this is like people are driving their work. You're giving them division problems to do.
Well, you have to understand how the math works.
Right. No, I get it.
So in order to pen 17, you have to have taken a certain number of clients. Mm-hmm. So, and if your numbers, you might know your numbers, right? But how many do you typically, that you take actually go under contract? And so I'm going to use in here, it's 70%. Mine is stronger than that. But again, this helps you achieve the goals. So divide by 0.7. So you need to take 24 clients. Mm-hmm. So then from there, how many do I need to hold? Mm-hmm. And
take to hold should be really, really similar as far as the number goes.
Right,
shouldn't be losing anyone in that section.
But I'm going to use 70% again. And now we're at 34. Mm-hmm. Okay. So 34, remember I said it's almost double. So mm-hmm. 34 appointments to 15 sales.
Right.
That's using 70% conversion.
On everything.
And then 10% fallout.
Right.
Your numbers should be better than that. And the more you practice and grow, the better your conversion rates will be. And so if you track this, then the next year, it'll be a lot easier based on your actual numbers. But it usually works out to just double the appointment set. So if I need to set 34 appointments, then how many people do I need to talk? How many buyer leads do I need? Well, what did we say? 5%? So I take 34 divided by 0.05. I need to talk to 680 people about to get buyer
right
in the pipeline. And then you just do the same thing on the seller side. The seller conversions are slightly different, mm-hmm. but you get the point. Mm-hmm. So now we're going with 2,400
right
contacts. Mm-hmm. Now I know I need to talk to 2,400 contacts. So now you get into the lead generation model. That's the numbers. That's the numbers part. The lead generation model is the who. So everybody...
This is the part everyone wants to know.
Well, everybody wants to know, like, well, how do I get in front of people?
Right. Because it doesn't matter how well your car is designed if there's no engine inside it. Right. If there's no and this is the gas. Right. It doesn't matter how awesome the car is if there's no gasoline to put in. It's not going anywhere. So the people are the gasoline.
Well, so
what people do I get in front of? You're telling me I need to talk to 2,400 people. My broker said to make a list of my family and friends. I've got one family member that lives in town and 4 friends.
Well, you gotta make some more friends. I mean, this is true.
I know. I'm just telling you what the people are driving to work listening to this. They're like, oh, well, that's easy enough for you to say. You've been in the business 17 years. You've got tons of past clients and blah, blah, blah. And you used to be a bartender and you know all these people. And I'm just saying that's what people are saying. So how do I get in front of 2,400 people?
Well, so first of all, let me just say that I am one of the shyest people out there. I do not enjoy
I know. I'm
just telling you.
I know. Guy, you're preaching to the choir.
I'm just telling you that I was very shy. I still am. I'm not a people person. I can engage and interact with people, and actually probably bartending helped me with that, because if you can deal with drunk people, you can deal with anybody. But point is, you don't have to be a people person, but you do have to talk to people. Mm-hmm. And so if that doesn't sound like fun, I get it.
You're in the
wrong business. Because that is all this is like finding enough people to talk to. So let's see, what's 2,400 people, by the way, assuming you work 50 weeks mm-hmm. and there's 5 working days a week.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to work. I know you're going to work Saturday and Sunday and all that stuff, but 250 days of lead generation time.
Right.
Right. So you want to talk to 2,400 people. Mm-hmm. Oh, my team is going to love this math. Mm-hmm. 2,400 people divided by 250 working days is what?
I don't know.
9.6.
Right.
It's 10.
10 people.
By the way.
Which we've been, I mean, this is, it's so funny. It's like the math always works. It's like we've been preaching 10 contacts a day for years.
10 contacts a day. A minimum. Because why? Because all lead gen sources do have different conversions.
Right.
So if you just talk to 10 people a day and you purposefully ask for business, that is the key part of this, is mm-hmm. like, you can't just have a conversation with a friend.
Do you or anyone you know?
No, but you can't. Yeah. You can't not mention real estate and be like, well, I talked to 10 people, but I didn't get any leads.
Right.
No, purposeful business conversations.
Right.
10 a day.
So can you talk to 10 people a day? And where do we get these 10 people a day from? But think about that. First of all, let's ignore where these people are going to come from. As an agent listening to this, can you, if I gave you a list of leads or whatever, how long and could you talk to 10 people a day? Is that worth hitting all of your goals, doing all of the things you need to do, all of the money that you wanted to make, and be above and beyond what you want for your goals and for your life? 10 people a day. How long would it take if you woke up in the morning, went to the gym, did all the stuff, got in the office at 9 and started calling? Could you talk to 10 people between the hours of 9 and noon? 3 hours. Could you do it? The answer to that is yes. 3 hours, 10 calls, 10 contacts. And then at noon, you're done. Now you can work on getting your open house, right? Because you don't have a listing. So I need to talk to some agents and get myself an open house. And now you're done. You've made your contacts for the open house on Monday. You done it on Tuesday. Great. You set your open houses up on Tuesday. All afternoon, every single day, you can run your errands. You can go on your appointments. You can take a class. You've got all your afternoons, Monday through Friday, free, right? All you have to do is make the calls from 9 to noon every single day, Monday through Friday, and you will hit your goals.
Please yell at me.
What I'm getting at is that's how simple it is. But you can't let anything get in the way.
Of course.
Now, we'll get back to who are those people.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Right? But the process of what to do is very, very simple. You just can't let anything get in the way. Now, where are these people coming from?
Well, so there's first, I want you to understand there's prospecting and marketing. And marketing is not lead gen. Marketing, it's not that it can't have a lead generation effect, because the purpose of marketing is to produce leads, but it is not proactive lead generation.
If we're talking about talking to people, how is marketing talking to people?
So you can't have it. I met
how
somebody
is posting something on Facebook talking to somebody.
I met somebody recently, and they said that they did their lead generation on TikTok. And I was like, interesting. What do you mean? And they said, well, I post my video. And I swear the person said once a month. And I was like, well, that's not enough.
Yeah. And even if it was every day.
Even if it was once a week. It was not once a day, by the way. It was like at least once a week, maybe a bit, or I'm sorry, at least once a month. But maybe she said once a week. That's not lead generation. That's marketing. That's putting your name out there and hoping that people will see it and they will respond to you.
Right.
And so you first have to understand those two different things, because everybody wants to solve all their problems through marketing.
Through passive marketing and waiting for people to come to them.
And I get it. It would be great. And that's not the way to build a business plan, because there isn't when you do something, there's no guarantee that it's going to have the result. You can follow other people's systems and plans and hope that you're going to get the same results. And you might, but you also might not. But if you talk to 10 people a day, that's the only like proactive method to ensure results.
Yeah, this is your business. You're going to how do you want to run your business? Do you want to run your business by waiting to see how other people react and whatever they do, that decides how much money you're going to make and how well your business is? Or are you going to go get it? Which is it going to be? This is super simple. Are you just going to sit back and wait for somebody to tell you how much money you're going to make? Or are you going to go get it and tell them how much money you're going to make?
So I'm going to read through the prospecting list, and then there's like a both where you're going to do touches that are marketing based, but you're also doing prospecting based. So let's start there. That would be your sphere. So as you know from listening to this, if you've listened to this before, it's 200 people.
Yeah.
Build your
sphere. And we have
sphere.
plenty of episodes on sphere. If you haven't listened to them, go listen to those.
Build your sphere to 200 people, and then you're going to set them up on a plan. I'm not going to get into that because we have probably episodes about that. But you're going to set them up on a plan so that you touch them 36, 40, somewhere in there times per year, which includes 4 calls, quarterly calls. So every quarter, you have 200 people right there that you're going to be talking to.
Right.
Because you're going to call them and then call them again if they don't answer. Yeah. Because the point is to actually have the conversation.
Calls. We're not talking about calls. We're talking about contacts.
So that's where you start with first. And I know people don't want to, and they're like, I don't know anybody and blah, blah, blah. Do yourself a favor and focus on building your sphere before you add any other lead generation stuff, because that will serve you in the long run. Yeah. And everything else you're doing is short. It could lead to a short-term gain, but then you'll be right back to zero.
Yeah. Teach a man to fish.
Yeah.
Right. That's what your sphere is.
So you have your sphere. Do that first. Then I'm going to go through the prospecting list, because like, who do you talk to, right? The first 2, nobody's going to want to hear it, but it's FSBOs and expireds. Prospecting, FSBOs, and expireds. These are the 2 categories where you'd probably have a higher than 5% conversion rate if you did it consistently, because they 100% actually have a real estate need. Then there's circle prospecting. That would be calling around just listed properties, just sold properties, a farming neighborhood, but you're literally calling neighbors that don't necessarily have a need. So it is true cold calling, and that's why that percentage would be less. Community outreach. So you could go and be a part of a volunteer event or group, having conversations with people. You can have key relationships with corporations, builders, banks. Why? Because banks own real estate, builders build real estate, and then corporations, that could be any number of things. It could be like apartment complexes, investors. There are investment groups that meet regularly. You can go be a resource for them. Teaching and speaking opportunities. You could hold webinars and seminars. Again, you've got to market to get those people there, though. So that's a little risky. Networking events, door-to-door canvassing. That would be like door knocking, like going door-to-door in a neighborhood. So those are prospecting things. There's nothing new and creative on there.
Yeah.
It's like you just have to have the conversations. So if one of those sounds interesting, well, great. Add that to your calls. But then now let's say it's FSBOs, because it's just like a little bit more tangible. So if I need to talk to 2,400 people in the year, and I'm pulling out my calculator, and one of my lead gen sources is going to be my sphere, and I have 200 in there, and I'm going to talk to them 4 times a year. That's 800 people that I've talked to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, so 2,400 minus 800 is 1,600. So 1,600, let's say the other source is going to be open houses and FSBOs. So let's say I just want to divide that in half and say I want half to come from FSBOs, half to come from open houses.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves 800. 800 conversations with FSBOs over my 250 day of lead gen time, right? I need to talk to 3.2 FSBOs a day.
Mm-hmm.
So let's round it up to 4. So I'm going to talk to 4 FSBOs a day. I'm going to talk to however many the sphere works out to. I think it's like 1.
and she split it down the middle, but on open houses, which I don't think is really fair, because you're going to have a lot more open house leads the more you do open houses than you're going to have FSBOs to call. So
sure.
that it's not. I wouldn't draw that line necessarily down the middle, but for our sake today,
yeah,
fine.
It's easier to just divide it in
yeah.
half. So I'm going to have to talk to 4, not dial 4, talk to 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to talk to my sphere. And so, excuse me, I'm going to figure out how many sphere I need to hit every day. Let's say that's 1. I don't even know that math, but so now that's 5 contacts, right? So I'm going to talk to at least 1 sphere, at least 4 FSBOs. I'm at 5, which means the other would come from 5 open house leads. So how many open houses do I need to do to have 5 people that I can talk to weekly?
Right. It means that on week 1, you might not have enough, right? But over time, and if you're doing what I said earlier, which is you're calling everybody that you can, and then on Monday, as soon as you're done with calling everybody, you're starting to set up an open house. And go back and listen to some of our other episodes. Set up 2 open houses for yourself. If you're in your first year, second year, consider this college and consider this homework. Go set up your open houses, do 2 a week. Every single week for your first year, you will build up a database of people to call that is so big, that of all of people that you've spoken to face to face, because they've come into your open house, it's the best source. You will build up such a database by continuing to do that, building that engine, that lead source will be enough for you to. Those lead sources will be enough for you to get your goals.
Let me retract my previous statement, though. I just did the math real quick on the sphere. To hit your 200 sphere, to talk to 200 sphere people over a quarter is about 3.3 per day. So let's say it's 4.
So 4 open houses, 4 FSBOs,
4 sphere.
That's right.
That's 8. So you need to talk to 2 open house people.
Or flip it. So 4 open house people, right? 2 FSBOs, 4 sphere. Whatever the combination is, it doesn't matter.
So
that's the best part about it. It doesn't matter as long as it's 10.
But so here's what happened. This is what I see happen for myself too. I'm never trying to claim that I'm perfect by any means. But here's what I see happen a lot is that you call your sphere, and so okay, I called 10 sphere people today and only 1 of them picked up. And then I called...
Right. Those aren't contacts. Those are dials.
I called 10 FSBOs and only 3 picked up, and I'm at 4 contacts.
Oh, well.
And
I guess I'm done.
And then I'm like, well, I made, whatever. I'm just making up numbers, but like I made 40 calls and I only talked to 4 people. Oh, well, log those numbers. Mm-hmm. But the point in all of this is it's really simple. If you don't make the 10 contacts, you will not have your...
Yeah. You just left the baking soda out of the recipe.
So every day that you don't do the 10 contacts, just shave off like, oh, well, I'm not going to get that investment property this year.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get that. Because I've decided that instead of like figuring out how to have 3 more conversations and just go wherever it might be, like it doesn't have to be on the phone. It can be in person. So if you're at 7 contacts and it's 4:00 and you're like, crap, I got to make 3 more contacts happen and I don't have them. Where can you go? What can you do?
Mm-hmm.
Figure it out. And like you should have
go back and make those calls to the people that you called earlier that day that didn't answer.
Well, that's the other part is
you can this is not rocket science. And what you're saying to Kathryn, when you're saying, well, who can I blah 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 and I didn't make the contact, those are all excuses. They're all excuses. Go back and call the people that you called yesterday that didn't answer the phone.
Well, so here's...
You know what I mean? Like this is all up to you. Are you going to go get it? Or are you just going to sit back and wait and cross your fingers and go, well, this isn't going to I'll figure out a way. Like, what are you going to do? This isn't that hard. It's just it's a matter of overcoming it in your own head.
Well, it's that, and
but the process, the actual process of what you're doing, the job, what that is not hard. You have to overcome it in your head. That's the hard part, but the process is simple.
So can I say, like, I know, having done this for so long and in different stages of my career, the reasons are different. So like as a single agent, the reason is as a new single agent, the reason is like, I don't have anybody to call.
Right.
I don't know who to call. I don't know who to go to. Well, I just gave you a bunch of lists. Like, just, what did I say? Corporations, builders, banks, like.
Yeah.
Go,
well, sphere and open houses.
It's well, I know. But hold on. Let me finish my thought. So if you don't have anybody to call, well, and you've already built your sphere and you've already called your 4 sphere for the day and you've already reached out to the other 200 and you've talked to all of them. You feel like you don't have anyone to call. I wish somebody would have told me about like vendor relationships, like way back when. It never really occurred to me, and I never really heard it until I was later in the years with Keller Williams of allied resources. It's like, who are the lenders, the inspectors, the handymen, the contractors, the attorneys, the organizers, the movers, like all of those people that have connections to their own sphere, by the way, and their own clients that could also be your clients.
Yeah.
So if you don't have anyone to call, like, or you're at the end, you're at 7 people, pick up the phone and call like a divorce attorney or a probate attorney or whatever. And yes, you don't know them and they're strangers, but could you not build a relationship with them and actually have a long-term successful relationship? But those are the things, like, you've just got to, when you get to the 7 or 8 and you need 2 more, you have to go find the 2 more. You can't finish the day without 10. Or every day that you do that, you just start crossing off stuff that, like, well, that's not going to happen. You might as well. But anyways, like I said, the reasons show up in different forms. So first it's, I don't have anyone to call. Then it's, well, now I have a couple clients and I'm running around showing houses and I'm too busy. Because I don't know how to manage my time. So that shows up as an agent, a few years in, actually a few years all the way to like 10 years. And then as a team owner, as you start to develop a team, well, now I'm trying to train other people.
I'm trying to get them to make their calls in the morning. Now I don't have time to make.
Well, first you're in like the admin phase, right? Like, I'm trying to build the systems and I'm trying to teach this other person how to do the things, and I don't have time. It always comes back to like, I don't have time. It's I don't have people. Then it's I don't have time. And then you start adding in agents, and same thing. You're trying to get them to make the calls that they should be making, and that becomes its own time thing. Mm-hmm. But it always is either you don't have the people or you don't have the time. The people you can go and find. You can go find them anywhere. And I'm not a big proponent of like, just go to the mall. But the point is, like, if you want it, it's out there to be had. One of the things that Gene Rivers said in both things that I've attended recently is like, everybody uses our product. Everybody needs a place to live. So every person you talk to has the ability to have a real estate need. It's one of the few industries that's the case. And so if you've got nothing else, like go to a coffee shop and make conversation with people, at least you'll be doing something instead of nothing. So, and then when time becomes the problem, it will always be an issue.
I really think that all, like the coffee shop example, all of that stuff is really, if you're, that's when you're starting out.
Well, yes, just saying.
This is all like when you're just starting out. Well, because it's like, if you've been doing this for a year, you should have enough open houses and contacts and database under your belt.
Well, by the way, like once you have a piece of business, you should be able to leverage that into other conversations.
Yes, that too.
So like you should expect referrals from active clients. And that's a whole nother conversation that was part of this class that maybe we'll make a whole episode.
Usually when someone's deciding to buy a house, they have friends who are right behind them in buying a house. So yes, your reasons though are either people or time. And as they say in bold, you can have reasons or results, but you can't have both. Yeah. No excuses.
Reasons are just excuses. And I like one of the things There's
no excuses in real estate. There's no crying in real estate.
There's no crying in real estate. I'm going to get a sign that says that. But anyways, so we're not going to make it through.
No, we blew past our time.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll wrap it up at this is, you've got the number. You figured out how much you need to survive, how to run your business, and then what you're going to spend the extra money on. And then you can focus on how many appointments and contacts.
If you want to make 30 sales a year, make 10 contacts a day.
So that's 60 appointments.
Right. That's what it comes down to. We gave you the numbers. 30. How many sales did you make last year? If you're listening to this, how many did you make? 18? 12? You want to make 30 sales this year? This upcoming 2024? 10 contacts a day.
And if
that you talk to about real estate, that you're speaking with, not dials, contacts.
Let me tell you something else too. And we'll continue this on the next episode. We'll finish out
that's the whole show.
but this is all we talk about. But if you get into the first quarter and you find that you're off track, but you have made 10 contacts a day, and you can really look at yourself and say, I've had 10
I did it for real,
purposeful business conversations for real, and the results aren't showing up, well, then you might have to double it.
Yeah.
And that's the way this works.
And ask yourself why. And it's probably scripts and role play. Because you think you're asking for business, but you're not.
But it probably is. And if you honed your skills, you probably could make 10 contacts. But the faster way to fix your problem is to just make more contacts.
Yes.
And then you can still work on honing your skills, but don't be like, okay, I'm going to scrap everything and I'm just going to take 1 million classes on scripts and dialogue and fix my problem. Right. Just start having more conversations.
And you'll get better at it.
Well, that's true too.
And you'll get better at it. You build up the callus, like we said.
They say in bold that you should set or talk to 20 people a day.
Right.
And because that would lead to an appointment a day. And if you set an appointment a day, you've got a strong business.
Yeah.
You've got a really strong business. So if you've got no idea what your goals are and just set that. Yeah. Like have 20 contacts a day, set 1 appointment a day, you'll be in great shape.
And at least you have something to shoot for, 20 a day. If you're just starting off, that you know that's what you need to do, start doing those open houses. Start calling realtors, start setting open houses, build that sphere. Work on those 2 things, because that's going to lead to the sales a lot faster than going and knocking on people's door or random prospecting or posting stuff on Facebook, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, the question you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Questions from the web.
Question from the web. I'm a newish agent, but I do have several transactions under my belt, just for context. I'm in a transaction right now where the other agent continually treats me like I'm a kid or that I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if it's on purpose or that's just how they are. It's really messing with my confidence, and I need some advice on how to deal with this person. What are some of your favorite ways to not let these types of agents get in your head?
Interesting. I
can see like an older male agent who's maybe been in the business for 20 years and then a newer female agent who has been in the business for a year, him being condescending. I can see how that could happen.
So can I just
that sucks. God, that sucks for them.
It does, but I kind of just feel like I don't know. I don't know a good way. Like, how do you deal with that? I think you just internally say
how to not let them get in your head is
go find another piece of business.
Yeah.
And just go get to work and don't worry about how somebody else is making you feel. If you like,
at the end of the day, you'll probably never cross paths again.
True.
You know,
I don't know that there's like a really good
screw that guy.
There's not a really good answer. Because also I don't have any context of like why is he making you feel that way?
Well, probably mansplaining, I would assume, kind of a thing.
But sometimes people are just talkers, and like they're not actually meaning to do that. I'm not defending mansplaining.
Like a teacher, like
sometimes,
he thinks he's helping you out, but you're taking it as
well. And sometimes you just let people talk, and then you're just like, okay, great. And then you move on with your day, and it's their problem, not yours. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And
maybe there is something to learn. Like, you know, I don't know.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, I don't know
maybe
enough about the situation to know if maybe the reason and I'm not blaming you. Okay. Yeah, don't misunderstand. Like, but maybe you're feeling that insecurity because maybe they said something and you're like, oh crap, I'm wrong. And so you're actually putting that on yourself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily them intentionally doing that. I'm not making excuses for this person. I don't know anything about the situation, but it's probably it sounds like it's an internal thing that you need to overcome. Which is usually what life is, right? Like,
the more you do it, you'll at some point, someday, you'll be on that other side.
Well, trust me, I deal with...
You're not the newer agent. You're the seasoned agent dealing with a newer agent.
And I have to be honest, and maybe that's why I'm coming from this place of like, are you sure you don't just need to learn something? But because I am the seasoned agent now, as that's happened.
It doesn't happen very often for Kathryn where somebody's going to treat her like a kid. She'll run circles around them.
Well, because I feel like I know 100% that I'm an expert in this business. And so when I'm talking to somebody... they're not going to treat me like that because they also probably know that I've been doing this a long time. And so there's a built-in respect level, I think.
Yeah.
So when you're new, that person might know that you're new and they might be treating you that way because of that. And that's not fair for them to do that. But at the same time, just know that when you get to that point,
you're going to be dealing with an agent who's got a couple transactions under their belt. And
you're going to have those feelings like, why am I having to explain this to somebody? Have they not read the contract? And so in those moments, sometimes people can be ruder than they mean to be, but they're frustrated.
Yeah.
And so again, I'm not making excuses because he could be a complete jerk, and I don't. But I'm just saying there are times where I'm talking to somebody, and it's hard not to just be like, have you not read the contract? I don't say that because I'm not the rude person, but like it's hard not to say that sometimes when you feel like the person on the other end of the phone doesn't know what they're talking about.
Or for example, I know that Kathryn has had listings before and you've got a newer agent who doesn't realize that there's no way that VA loan is going to come through on this house, but they're trying to do it anyway, and you've got to try to explain to them. Like, there's just an experience thing of you wouldn't be doing that if you had any experience at all.
Well, and so if
so sometimes they're just trying to point you in the right direction and stuff, but they don't have any tact because people are terrible.
Yeah, people are terrible. But so I think though it's something you work on internally because people could also treat you poorly because you're a woman or a man or anything. And so you work on internally building your own confidence, and you can do that through becoming an expert and knowing that I know the ins and outs of that contract backwards and forwards. So I don't have to feel any way when somebody's talking to me, except I know I'm right and they're wrong.
Yeah, which is where Kathryn loves to be.
Slow in.
Small win. Kathryn, you have a small win this week?
Yeah. My brother and his fiance, they always come and visit us for Christmas. And there was a little bit of concern that they weren't going to make it this year.
Everyone's busy.
Unacceptable. But they finally bought tickets. So I was like, yay. So it's small. It's a great, exciting thing that they're coming. And I love Christmas. It's my favorite holiday. But the small win is that now we can actually plan for that time, because he always waits till the last minute to make these kind of decisions and purchase tickets. So now we can actually say, okay, great. Our Christmas is this day.
Right. And my small win is I've got all my presents wrapped.
Oh, you.
I'm all done.
I don't have any presents wrapped. I'm very behind schedule.
Yeah.
But I do think that, no, I've got like one more gift to buy. But other than that, I think we're good. And then I'll just do a wrapping.
One more for me?
Session. It is one more for you.
Sweet. Hey guys, remember to rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps new listeners to find us. Send your questions from the web to onseekingthebest@gmail.com. Leave us a Spotify voicemail with your questions and we'll play it on the show. All info is in the show notes. And for Kat and myself, thanks for listening, and we'll figure this all out next week.
Bye.
This has been a Think Live Be production.